Hello guys, this is Fabian. Welcome to my new video. This video is quite special because it is a reaction to many of your inquiries, to many of your questions I do get quite frequent and quite often. And all of those questions are about one thing, and it is about the gear that I'm using. So I'd like to showcase some of the stuff that I use, some of the feathers, some of the protective equipment, etc. So let's start. So this is the first part of the journey. Well, it shows you most of the protective gear I use. There are many various brands, but I tend to stick to some of them because repeatedly I've learned that they have a very quality service or they're good quality products. So let's start with the thing that people do not see as obvious as they should, and those are boots. So during the course of my HEMA career, I've been using a lot of different models, a lot of different shoes, and many people underestimate how much important it is to use quality shoes. Nowadays, I mostly stick with sport fencing boots, which are always a good choice because they are made for our hobby, for our sport, or alternatively, I really recommend if you're on a budget or go for more budgetary things to use indoor court shoes, which are aimed for tennis or for badminton or sports like that, which require a lot of jumping around, a lot of walking around. Regarding fencing pants, there aren't as many options as there are for sports, let's say, but I think that you will definitely do the best thing if you go for the fencing pants. I think they are called the locust ones. These are the ones that I use mostly for tournaments and stuff, and these are the light ones. I use them occasionally for light sparring or during the summer if I need something which is much lighter and much more breathable, because as we know that breathable materials are still lacking in HEMA. Alright, so now we come to a very special thing. I don't like this that much. I use it just occasionally in some instances. For instance, in our rules, this is obligatory in the rapier competitions. It's a fencing plastic chest protector. I mean, for me in particular, it limits me quite a lot in the movement. So, as I said, I don't like it that much, but many people use it. I'm trying to avoid it if I can, but it's definitely a good safety measure. Here comes the most interesting part, I think, or the most important part, and that's the fencing jackets. So, as time progresses, there are much more better alternatives to what we can use in fencing. I think that from all the companies that you can buy gear from, I really like to stick with Spes because I like their service, I like what they're doing for the community, and they really help to advance tournaments and sparring and things in general much. So lately I've been using this jacket. It's the AP Light jacket. Although I love this jacket, it's fantastic and I use it almost exclusively now. I think that there are a few downsides that you should be wary about, and one of those is that you're sacrificing some of the protection, some of the stiffness that the other jackets have for better movement and for breathability. So, well, if you are about taking risks and if you have enough other different protectors that protect you well, then of course this is the best choice. Historically, and sometimes I also use different jackets like the Spes Officer, although this one protects even less than the AP Light, but it looks really nice for presentation if you need to look nice, right, Lado? Like I told you, there are a few brands that I like to stick with because of the quality of service they provide and quality of production. One of those is definitely the sparring gloves. I'm a very exclusive user of the sparring gloves of the mitten variant. Some people in HEMA are looking for better and better 5-finger options, but I don't think that 5-finger gloves are ever going to be that good. Maybe with the coming Pro Gauntlet, but I still have to fence with them. But what I really like about the mitten gloves is that you can stick your fingers together. This is very important for me because in most options that are for the 5-fingered gloves, your fingers are held apart, and this is a bit weird, mainly if you're gripping a sword and if you need to work with it really nimbly, all right? So that's why I definitely stick with the mitten gloves, because I can have my fingers like this and I can move them in any possible direction. For rapier, or also for some other weapons or combinations like sword and buckler, I use some custom leather gloves that I had made in a Czech company just near the border, or alternatively the Red Dragons for the left hand. I only use this for the left hand because I think that this product is not very good. It tears quite a lot and it's not worth the price in general. The last thing there is the forearm protectors. I also use these just very occasionally, sometimes for instance in sword and buckler with the leading hand or the hand which is holding the buckler. The reason is they limit me personally a lot in the movement, but I mean for the sake of protection sometimes you gotta use them. Normally in longsword I don't use them because the sparring gloves have got a cuff which is long enough and it goes up to your elbow. Alright, let's move to the swords. So now we can see quite some swords from my collection. Most of these are feathers. I'm mostly a longsword fighter, so I own mainly feathers. So here we have some sharp swords or sharp longsword. We have a Zweihander, which is I think hidden beneath the view of the camera, and a view of my sabers. So let's take a detailed look at them. Alright, so I think that I have swords from most of the possible brands that do swords nowadays. I don't use all of them. Most of them are retired at the moment because I think that after some time swords should be retired and they deserve their retirement. So there are many Pavel Mott swords. So as you can see, this is the Pavel Mott's, I think he calls it D, or the 15th century model is the 001. The thing is, I helped with the design, so this is what Pavel gave me as a gift. There are some Regenia swords, Kveton swords, some more Regenia swords, some more Pavel swords. These sharp long swords are really nice. I had them made by Elgar, Jan Motička or Elgar. They are replicas from swords that I was able to dig out in auctions. So they are quite long. I really love long swords, and I like to try and do the sharp cutting in the way I do cutting in normal tournaments or in sparring. So this is the longest specimen I have, at least from the sharp longswords. It's a Pavel Mott's replica of the so-called Zornhau model, or is the sword which was dug up by the Zornhau guys in some auction. It's 150 centimeters. I don't know how many feet that is, but it's quite a lot of feet and inches, but it's a huge sword. You can see it's, let's say, 3/4 of my height, but I really love it. It's very nimble, boom, boom, and it's quite an interesting cutter, although I think that the Elgar swords are better or more suitable for cutting. So this is my last addition to my sharp family. This is the mini version. It's a combined replica. It's combined out of two swords that I was able to find out, and I really like it. It's just the length of the sword is just 115 centimeters. It's super nimble and a very good cutter. I love it. If I was riding a horse and if I should choose a sword that I would use on the horse, it would be definitely this one. So now we are coming to the section of the swords that I've been using mostly, most lately. It's the Sigi swords. Some of you may know that I've been involved with Sigi. In fact, we've started it with two of my friends. So these are some of the feathers that we make. This is the concept feather. This is the standard feather, one of the oldest. It's more than a year old now and it's holding quite well and I really love it. This is the shorty. It's a shorter model of our sword. It's like 125 centimeters and it's very good, very nimble. I love to spar with it because this sword is great for cutting combinations, and if you really want to be fast and nimble, this is exactly your pick. This one is quite destroyed and it looks ugly, but it's the Endurance. It's a very large sword. The POV of this sword is moved towards the cross, so you can really easily change the direction in any way you want to. This is the sword, the weapon of choice of our lead technician, our lead engineer in Sigi, Andrej. This is another mod sword. It's a beautiful sword. This is an Elgar Parachvert replica. It's a very nice sword. You can see that the flattened or the spatulated tip is much larger than on most of the other swords that I have or that I have been fencing with, but still it's very interesting. This is a very old Ensifer. I don't use that. I haven't been using that for years now, but it's a great sword and it was, I think, the second feather that we bought like ever. The first were Hanweis, but those are long time gone. So some more one-handers, a Kveton one-hander, very nice to use, Pavel Moc one-hander, beautiful fullers or double fuller as you can see, and a Sigi one-hander. All of those are really great. And yeah, and this is a Regeni simple side sword. Coming now further, so these are my free sabers. I've got one more at home, but it's also a sports saber, so it's not that interesting. I'm using, for saber work, I'm mostly using the Kveton saber, which I found to be very good. It's got a wonderful balance and it's great to fence with, and it's quite durable. I've been trying to destroy it, but I was unable to. This big guy here is the largest sword that I have. It was a gift. I got it for my 30th birthday from my friends. Thank you very much. So this is a Regeni Zweihander or Montante or Spadone, name it if you want. I'm mostly doing some cutting exercises with it and showing this to newbies because everyone is like, oh wow, this sword is so big, right? These are some of my rapiers. This is the Pavel Moc that I was helping to develop and test for him. This is one of the prototypes that we've been using. There are 4 more somewhere here in the armory. And this is the rapier I'm using, I would say most dominantly. It's the Regeni rapier. If you are going for this sword, I would maybe recommend to get the cub-hilt variant because this one, the rings are very sparse and it's quite easy. It's not that hard to get hit into your fingers, even by accident. But still, this is a wonderful rapier. The balance on it, it's fantastic, and it has won me a few tournaments. There are just 3 more things remaining, or 4 more things remaining, and this is the masks. Mask is quite a big topic in the world of HEMA. People are always like, oh, which mask should I buy, etc, etc. After many years, I've become an exclusive user of of one brand. It's called All Star. It's a German brand, and I think that their masks are the most suitable for HEMA. Of course, there are some downsides. These are sport fencing masks, but the mesh is very durable, and this is I've got 2 of them currently, and I'm also using the All-Star overlay with their masks, right? It's quite torn, but I love it. Of course, you shouldn't forget about gorget or about throat protection, and for these reasons I've been using just some hockey goalie, goalkeeper, neck protection, whatever. And now the time has come to answer the question that everybody's asking. From all the questions about gear that I ever got, let's say half of them were, Martin, what kind of shin guards are you using? What kind of leg protection are you using? So, ladies and gentlemen, this is my leg protection. It is the Ray SG shin guards. It is originally intended for street hockey, but they're really good and they really work for HEMA. They really protect well. I don't know if you can see it, but they've been quite damaged quite a lot. They have helped me not to get hit in my legs too many times. I can't even say how much, but they are wonderful. And what is most important, and I think this is a very important factor that we should remember, if you want to look good in fencing, you should get something like this. They are very anatomical and they make you look cool. Speaking about being cool, this is the cape I'm using for rapier and cape. It's just a custom-made cape from a dense, thick layer. It's called Diftin in Slovak. I'm not sure if there's a variant. If there is, I will put it for you somewhere in the notes. But it looks nice as well. Alright guys, that's it. So hopefully you found this video interesting and that it will help you in some ways. So I hope you had a fantastic year 2019 and I would like to wish you all the best into 2020 and let's watch some more sparring shots. Take care.